Hey everyone, Coach Kayla here with Where Your Feet Take You. I hope that everybody is hanging in there with all the craziness that's going on. And that's mostly what I want to chat with you guys today about, because I know that there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of uncertainty. There's just a lot going on, not only in the world, but in our lives at the moment. Everything's having to change. Our routines having to change. Maybe pools are being closed, gyms are being closed. Your children might be home. You're working from home. There's just races are being canceled. It's just a very tumultuous time at the moment. And so I kind of want to chat with you guys a little bit about that, because I've had a couple people ask, how do you stay motivated when things are going like this? And so that's kind of what I want to chat with you guys today about. So it's one of those where first off, I want to stress, one, that it is okay to be disappointed that your race gets canceled. Now, it's not okay to freak out and blame the world, because it's just the way that things are happening right now. And it's one of those where we instantly maybe want to blame the Ironman or USAT or rock and roll or whatever it is. And we just have to know that they are trying their best to put our best interests at heart. Remember, they're running a business no different than a lot of us are running a business. And so we just have to kind of be a little bit forgiving, I guess you would say. So that's my one little piece. But I really do also want to say that it is okay. It's okay to be upset, and it's okay to be frustrated. It's no different than anything. You have to allow that quote unquote grief or that anger or frustration. You have to allow it to be there, and you have to recognize it, acknowledge it, and allow it to be seen and heard and felt. You have to feel those feels. And so it's one of those where allowing yourself to feel that way is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you are a bad person, or that you don't care, or that you are selfish. It's part of disappointment, is part of anything that we do. And a race, what is a big thing? It's something that oftentimes we're training 3, 4, 6, 9, 12 months for, we're prepping for, and we spent a lot of money for it. And it can be really disappointing. And so it's okay to be disappointed. Now, the key thing is that we don't want to let that frustration manifest into just giving up on yourself. And I think that's where I want to go with this. I really want to stress to you guys that just because things feel like they're going wrong, doesn't mean that we want to give up on ourselves. And I think that's the most important piece. And so a couple of tips to kind of help you to refocus what's going on. So the one thing is that depending on what your rest of your race schedule looks like, it could potentially mean that this doesn't change a lot for you. Maybe your race isn't until June or July or or even August. And so things may not change, and you just have to focus on the fact that, hey, this race may still happen. And that's something else. It's one of those where if your race has not been canceled yet, don't give up on it. Continue to believe in it. Continue to believe that it might happen. Because if you give up on it, you're giving up on yourself, and you will regret that later down the road. So it's depending on what your races are. Work with your coach, have your coach work with you, and maybe you want to take 1 to 2 to 3 weeks to deload. Now, especially for a lot of people, who maybe were training for Ironman Texas, you were probably in a huge final bulk phase. Now, maybe what the best thing would be to take a couple weeks to deload, shed some of that fatigue, and then refocus and rebuild. And so take 1 to 2 weeks where maybe your volume is a lot lower. You have flexible scheduling. You have options. You're doing, maybe you're taking option 1 versus option 2. You're doing maybe some hiking or just some family time. So take some time to deload before you begin to rebuild. And then rebuild by taking that and using that this time to focus on the small things. And so that's my next tip, is to dial in the little things. Use this time frame to focus on little things. You can't go to the pool. Okay, you're going to focus on strength training to help manage that. You're going to focus on your mobility, doing some yoga or Pilates. You're working with swim cords, focusing on engaging and activating those muscles that maybe you don't spend as much time doing. Working on core strength. Take this time to dial in some of those pieces that maybe you don't always have as much time for and get pushed to the side. That will then benefit you in the long run because you won't have lost that much strength, and then also maybe you'll create a better routine for moving forward. Other little things to dial in: your nutrition. Work on your daily nutrition. A lot of times people say one of the reasons they struggle with their nutrition is they just don't have time. Use this time to start practicing meal prep, come up with different recipes, try new things. Focus on and just ensuring that you're maybe making nicer meals for your family because you have that time. So taking that piece and say, okay, I normally don't have time to make a nice dinner and I just throw something together quick. Well, now I'm going to use this. I'm going to make a nicer dinner each day. The other thing to dial in maybe would be your mindset. Using this time frame to do some journaling, to do some visualization, to do some mindset exercises. If you need help with this, you can reach out to me. I have a 4-week mindset program. I'd love to work with you on it. Take this time to go back over your goals, redefine them, relook at your why, relook at your passions, just relook at these things and take this time to kind of take a little bit deeper dive into who you are and why it is that you do things. This is a really good time to slow down and relook and refocus. Using this time to refocus you, and so that when you get back into it more full meal deal, you have yourself in a better mind frame. Then the other piece is, the other one that's I think is really important is to choose maybe some smaller short-term goals or do some challenges. So for example, I'm having my athletes do a week-long challenge. We're doing I'm calling it the Green Week Challenge. And if they hit their workouts all green with minimal modifications all week, they get entered into a drawing. Do stuff like that. Challenge yourself to maybe all you can do is run. So challenge yourself to run 1 mile every single day in this week, or challenge yourself to do 5 minutes of planking every day. Pick some sort of fun little challenge that kind of motivates you and gives you something to work for that is short term and you can really focus on. That often really helps us to stay present and stay focused in what we're doing. And if you can learn to do that now, that'll help you later down the road when you're in the middle of your full Ironman that gets moved to September and you're in the middle of a 100-mile ride and you need to stay focused and present. By teaching yourself to do that now, you'll be able to do it again later down the road. The other piece that I find to be really, really important is to remember you're playing the long game. Just because you can't race now doesn't mean that it's over. Doesn't mean that racing may be over for all year. There's potential, maybe, who knows? But right now, we don't know that. We have to remember we're playing a long game. Triathlon is a long game. Running is a long game. We're in this sport not for this short one period of time. We're usually in this sport because we love it and we want to continue to do it for a long time. So remembering the fact that what you do now will pay off later on. This is something that I do on a regular basis. I mean, it's one of those where maybe I have a race coming up that is a Kona qualifier. I'm not even qualified for Kona yet, and I'm having a low motivation day. What I think about is not the race that I have coming up. What I think about is Kona. And I tell myself, what I do right now will benefit me come October 13th when I'm racing in Kona. This is the same concept. Staying strong, staying mobile, staying focused, continuing to do what you can right now will benefit you down the road, especially if you've got really good fitness right now. You would do a disservice to yourself to just say, hands up, I'm done, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then all of a sudden your race gets rescheduled and you're excited about it and you just lost a whole month of good, hard work. This is a time where you can really work, like I said, you can work on little things. Maybe you need to build up some of your bike fitness. Maybe you need to work on your running. Again, maybe you need to work on your mobility or your strength. This is the time to do that, and this is the time to focus on that. So those are the things that this is really can use to keep yourself focused and keep yourself present. So that's kind of what I wanted to stress with you guys, that this is try to look at it from a silver lining, that this is time for you to rehash what's going on and become another better version of yourself, whether that's an athlete, whether that's a parent, whether that's just a person in general. This is a time for you to really hone in on the little things that maybe you don't always have time to work with. And so that's kind of my number one advice. It's definitely a tough time, and I'm acknowledging that. Trust me, I feel for everyone because I'm feeling the same way. But I'm using this time to say, okay, I'm just going to keep focused. I'm going to keep motivated, and really dial in on some of these pieces that need to be dialed in on, and have some fun with it. That's my number one thing I want you to remind yourself, you guys, of. Remember, this is fun. This is a fun journey. Triathlon is awesome. It's full of passion, and it's full of strength, and it's full of motivation. And there is a great community of us that are struggling through this as well. Reach out to those people. Maybe get together where you all do a hour-long bike together on Zwift, or you're sending text messages back and forth. Did you get your run in? Did you do your strength training? Do a live session together, do a Zoom chat together. Whatever it is, you can still connect and you can still feel all the feels of a community. And by doing that, you actually give yourself more motivation. So that just to kind of recap some of my pieces and, tips for staying focused during this time frame are to, one, take some time to deload if you have the ability, depending on when your race schedule is, and then use it to reload. And in that reload time, focus on dialing in some of the little things, whether that be your mindset or your nutrition, or doing a focus block on either biking or running or strength training, taking the time to get strength training in or mobility in when maybe you didn't have that in the past. And then choose some small short-term goals. Create a challenge. Create a new goal that you've maybe always wanted to work for. Maybe you've always wanted to try to squat a certain weight. This is a good time to try that. Or make it so that you can hold a plank for as long as you can. Again, a good time to try that. And then lastly, to remember that what we're doing now will pay off in the long run. And I think that's the important piece. Constantly reminding yourself that this will pay off further down the road. Whereas if you just give up and give into it, it's going to hurt you further down the road. So just letting everybody know that I'm thinking about everybody out there. Please stay safe. This is a really tumultuous time, and it's a stressful time, and it's a hard time. But the more we can band together and the more we can stick together and remember that we are in this together, the easier it does become. And knowing, if you have any questions about any of it, please reach out to me and I'll do my best to help. So again, this is Coach Kayla with some of my tips, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful time and staying safe out there, and sending love and prayers out to everybody. Thanks, guys.